Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of the 12 Steps of Humility and Pride. Well, maybe it's not so new. I mean, if you've been following, we're already on chapter 21. Gosh, this is going so fast, incredibly fast. My name is Farah Rose. I'm your host. I am a professed lay Franciscan, and I work in the Office of Spiritual Healing, Deliverance, and Exorcism. I welcome you to our channel, Swords of St. Michael Network. We have lots of videos on deliverance, healing, exorcism, and all sorts of information to help you do your own self-exorcism and get rid of whatever it is that is pulling you back and away from that perfect peace that only God gives us. So we're going to get right into it and start up with our intro. This live show is an ongoing presentation of formation with the 12 Steps of Humility and Pride. The link is below, and you can click on it and download your own free copy, which will have all sorts of notes and references to the things that I talk about. This series is a good idea if you do have a Bible and a journal, and for those of you that have been following along. This will be a shorter show than usual because this chapter is very into the point in this part of the ladder. And I just want to let you know that this is some really good food to think of and to actually spend some time in prayer and meditation. And as this is live, I am going to go back and forth and say hello to people at will. So please be patient. Thank you so much. And I think we do have at least one moderator. If you do have questions, Matthew, are you paying attention, my dear? And hello, Russ. Good to see you. Tell Dad I said hi. We're going to get right in and pray and read. So relax, sip your tea, and I'll be right back. In nomine Patri et Filio et Spiritus Sancto, sic erat in principio et nunc et semper et saeculorum. Sancta Michael Arcangele, defende nos in prelio, contra nequitiam et insidiis diaboli, esto presidium. Principes miletis celestis satanum aliosque spiritus malignos, qui ad perditionem manumarum peregantur in mundo divina virtute detrude. Amen. Suscipe, our study prayer. Suscipe Domine universum meam, libertatem, accipi memoriam, intellectuem alque voluntatem omnem, qui babio vel possideo mihi largitus es, et tibi totum restitio. Ac tui prosis voluntati trado gubernandum amore tui sul, cum gratia tui mihi dones, et divis sum satis ec aluit quidquam ultra posco. Amen. The 12 Steps of Humility and Pride by St. Bernard of Clairvaux. Chapter 21. The 12th Degree. Habitual Sin. The opposite of the first degree of humility. Constant abstinence from sin for fear of God. But when, by the awful judgment of God, his first offenses have been unpunished, the pleasure that he has derived from them is freely repeated, and its repetition engrosses him. Lust is quickened, reason is lulled, and habit becomes bondage. The wretched man is drawn into the abyss of evil, made prisoner to the despotic rule of vice, and so overwhelmed by the whirlpool of his carnal desires that he forgets alike his own reason and the fear of God, and says madly in his heart, "There is no God." He now, without scruple, puts pleasure in the place of law. His mind, his hands, and his feet are no longer forbidden to consider, execute, and pursue courses that are unlawful. But whatever comes to his heart, his mouth, or his hand, he designs, discusses, and carries out with evil intent, idle utterance, and sinful action. Just as a righteous man, when he is risen through all the degrees, is able by his habitual goodness to run eagerly and easily to life, so does the wicked man, who has gone down through the same degrees in consequence of his evil practice, emancipated from the rule of reason and unrestrained by the bridle of fear, hastens undaunted to his death. There are some in the middle who are wearied and worried, who, alternately tortured by the fear of hell and hindered by the long-standing habit, find the descent or the ascent hard work. The first one and the last one alone move quickly and without hindrance. The latter hastens to the death, the former to life. The one more speedily, the other with greater care. Love makes the one eager. Lust renders the other inert. The affection of the one, the indifference of the other, make both insensible to toil. So, in the one perfect love, in the other, consummate wickedness drives out fear. Loyalty gives confidence to one. Blindness does the same for the other. So, in the 12th degree, may be called the habit of sinning, because in it the fear of God is lost, and its place is taken by scorn. Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for joining me. Good to see you, Ross. Good to see you, Anne. Make sure you tell Dad I said hello. This is a live version of the 12 Steps of Humility and Pride tonight. Welcome on this Sunday night, this holy day. This chapter was really difficult for me, and I'm sure it's going to be difficult for those of you that are keeping your journals and reading your Bible and doing this meditation, because in a lot of ways, we don't think of ourselves as habitual sinners. We don't think of ourselves, even though this book was written for monks and religious and people that are really trying to root out so much that they can clearly just focus on praying and focus on serving God every day. In the applicable way that we apply it to our lives, in the degree that we can do this and we can embrace this, it's still, shall we say, in this ladder of humility and pride, it's not that easy, because we have to pick apart not just our actions, but our intentions, and we have to pick apart our environments. And that's something that most of us are really not willing, or as in some people that I've spoken with, do we really have the time to do? So as we look at this lesson and as we meditate about what is habitual sin in our lives, what are these choices that we're making? What is it that creates? Because I think this is so appropriate in the last of the chapter, it tells us, love gives us this eagerness, we're working, we're anxious, we're ready to go forward, whereas lust makes us idle. Why bother? Lazy. Don't want to do anything. Ain't going there. Just going to let it ride. So that in itself, oh my gosh, that was really eye-opening because most of you that know me know I have two speeds. I'm either 1,000 miles an hour. I'm dead. It's very, very rare that I'm anywhere in the middle. So I'm not quite sure what that says about me in the DSM, Diagnostics and Statistics Manual, but I know each of us, we all have our challenges, and we look at those things that motivate us. And, I was trying to break this lesson down, okay? When we're looking at being creatures, all right? In this lesson by St. Bernard of Clairvaux, we are trying to climb the ladder towards humility, okay? And we're trying to stay away from those things that invite us to do things that are not good for our soul, that basically endanger our soul and cause us to repetitious sin. So, the thing that crossed my mind most often here with this habitual sin, not in the sense that he spoke about with the brothers and the monks, but however, in the sense that we see it in ourselves and we see it in other people that may be either under our care or people that come to us or people that trust us, maybe our children, and we may or may not have influence with them. We may or may not be able to counsel them as we would. However, if we can see it clearly and we have the opportunity, well, maybe we can share, right? So, I looked at this from a, shall you say, kind of like a backward situation, like before someone would put themselves in the opportunity to commit the habitual sin. Okay. There are no saints. Well, there might be a couple. There's a few saints that were never sinners, but most saints were really great sinners. They were really good sinners. And in all sinners is a saint waiting to be born. Yeah. So let's look at our nature. When I look at these lessons and I look at these opportunities for personal growth, self-exorcism, because that's what this is all about. This is all about cleaning our own closets and figuring out what is going to drive us to manic panic, to nightmares, to invitations and that sort of thing. We look at what is man's basic nature, and I love Thomas Aquinas and the Summa Theologica, and we look at who are we. We are not only divine, we have the beautiful divine deposit of the Holy Spirit inside of us, but we are also of fallen nature. We were kicked out of the Garden of Eden. We were bad kids, okay? We got a long time out here on planet Earth, all right? So, what does that say? That says that we will not only be tempted, but we will also, with all the senses that we have, as imperfect creatures. God is a perfect creature. Angels are perfect creatures. Devils are perfect creatures. We are imperfect. So we are not impervious as the infinite. We are completely, we light up. We smell taco trucks, man. Woo, there we go. We see something that catches our eye, whether it's glittery, half naked, whatever it is, it's going to tempt you. Your eyeballs are going there. That fallen nature grabs us. So we have to teach ourselves, no, I've had 10 tacos today. I don't need another 5. Thank you very much. How many of us can say no to that? Well, if you're a big person, it's not easy. If you're a little person, it's a little easier. So when we look at the ability to avoid situations of habitual sins, we have to remember that, because I'm really, really running into a lot of you that are so over scrupulous and you're just so on the nail, gotta do it perfect. This isn't about perfection. This is about not quitting. All right? This is about more or less trying to do the best in any situation you've been given. And that's not always easy, all right? It's never easy, especially, when we're fighting so many temptations. And I love the quote that Anne just put up. Oh, welcome, Sean. But this quote, Anne posted is so appropriate. Didn't St. Paul say, originally Peter say that I don't do what I want to do, and I do the things that I don't want to do. And actually, he did say that. He did specifically say, the Bible quote is, I do those things that I do not wish to do, where I struggle to do the things that I know I must do. And basically saying it is that the best of us struggle to do the right thing. And, you know, no matter how much we say, oh, yes, I can moderate, I can do this and, so that I'm not just taken away by it, we easily become overcome with our desires and our lusts. It's very, very easy. And that, I think, that's the nature that we will all fight up until the day we die. It just is what it is. And it is concupiscence. It's true, Sean. And many of us struggles with different levels of concupiscence. And I just want to welcome Mazman. Yes, exactly. We can't do anything without God. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is the divine depositive of the Holy Spirit within all of us, whether you're baptized or not. And this course is for everyone. It's not just for people that, know who God is and know who Christ is. If you are having any kind of issues with any sort of temptations, if you're struggling, with emotional stuff, if you're struggling with not knowing who you are in this crazy world, and this world's just about to get really crazy here, folks. And as a matter of fact, it's difficult. It's difficult not to turn on our news channels. It's difficult, to walk into our churches, to walk into our places where we congregate, where we gather, where we, have our neighborhood meetings, and not see all the sinning going on, all the evil that's perpetuating itself in, the gender dysphoria, in, the lack of people actually knowing where the line of goodness and grace is, falling in their laps. That's the hardest one for me to look at. It was so hard, I basically opened my big mouth and I almost started a fight in the store today because I couldn't shut my mouth. And why couldn't I shut my mouth? Most of the time I can keep my mouth shut and I can just look the other way. However, when we're talking about habitual sin, we had this discussion the other night during a different show, all right? And when we're talking about habitual sin and the temptation to avoid it, I think one of the things I struggle with is, let me just say that sometimes I can what I know so long. Sometimes I can sit back and I can let people handle things so long, and then my mouth pops off and I'll take control of the situation. I'll irritate everybody and everybody scatters running. That happened today. I'm sorry, it did. And the situation, now, do I see that as a habitual sin? What I did was not a habitual sin. It could have been handled differently. For me, knowing myself and knowing how I am trying to grow in my struggles with opening my big mouth around people, for me, in my heart, in what I did, that was not the right way to handle it. I could have been a lot nicer. However, there was young people present, there was a pregnant lady present, and this woman was off her meds, opened her mouth. And as soon as the manager came up there, from one manager to another, Miss Know-It-All here, Pharaoh, just opened her mouth and said, that lady needs to leave. She's got a filthy mouth. She just cussed at this young kid. You need to do something now. That wasn't my place to tell the manager that. And then the woman popped off at me and I go get in her face. This is not Franciscan. Franciscans are supposed to open dialogue. This wasn't funny. I mean, I'm laughing because I'm kind of embarrassed. Normally I avoid situations like that. And because I basically, as a Franciscan, I am professed to open dialogue. I'm finding, though, as our world is changing more and more, there will be less opportunities for dialogue and more opportunities for action. And I say that in all honesty. Does that make me less of a saint? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. God will judge me and you according to our understanding of what is right. And as Jesus has put in numerous situations, we know that, yes, Farrah popped, Matt. I'm sorry, but my mouth I just lost my sense of reason. And this doesn't happen very often. However, like I said, when there's children around, when there's elderly people, and when there's pregnant people, I have this kind of this protection thing in me that just goes ballistic. And if somebody can't handle it, I'm going to handle it because I don't know. Maybe I think I'm super mom, and I really am not. So the reason I'm bringing this to you, because this is a very small incident of my own habitual sin. This is my vanity saying I can handle this. Okay, now you want to know what's even worse? You know, this might seem absolutely trivial to you. This is something that I work on, watching my mouth. And most of the time, I can do it. Now, how does this apply to, our study on what we're looking at for those opportunities? This is a situation where I failed to just step back and let everybody else handle it. And I didn't. Why? When we look at how we can form our consciousness, when we look at the opportunities where we're going to be invited to sin against the nature and that beautiful nature that calls us to love each other, we have to look at not just our natures, but we have to look at the environment that we've been thrust in. So I think that, what I wrote down is, okay, forgetfulness. We forget who we are. We forget where our true strength comes from. We forget that we possess the peace that other people need because of our awareness, because of our baptism, because of who we are called to be. And if you're seeking this peace, are you going to look at me popping off at the manager and going, oh my gosh, that woman's rude, bossy, and oh my gosh, that's not somebody I want to be like. So to you, I'm saying, I've been way worse than that. That's a mild. My situation is the environment was invitational to me. My attitude, my patience was like about zip. And, what came out of the woman's mouth, I've said worse than she's said, but not in a public situation with, all these kids and everybody else sitting around. But like I said, this is going to happen more. And I think that our habituation to sin begins with a level of, shall we say, our overexposure to things that we basically, by degrees, do not see as sinful. What came out of this woman's mouth was filthy, disgusting, and wrong, and totally inappropriate for being in public, all right? Completely inappropriate. But if you turn on news, if you turn on TV, if you turn on any kind of programs that people watch, that's perfectly okay to say that. And she had the nerve to tell me to mind my own business. I said, get your filth out of my ear. I was not so nice. Why am I laughing? Because it's like, I'm probably going to blush. I'm pretty just like, it's just disturbing. I'm usually not that aggressive. I'm usually the silent aggressive type. I'm not as, shall I say, impetuous and stupid and rude as I used to be. And that's where we challenge ourselves. So, I just want to take a couple comments from the chat room because I know we all struggle with our impatience and we have to look at what situation we're in. It just, whether it is, like Sean says, whether you have a compulsive honesty that you need to curb, because not everyone can handle your honesty, or we have a compulsive habit of reminding people, excuse me, but you're really freaking stupid. It's not our job to remind those people that they're stupid. And yes, we as Americans, Anne, have been conditioned to be rude and to put up with rude people, especially in public. And, C3PO, hi, Sue. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming. It is, what? When we think about confession, because I've mentioned this in other ways, we can confess every night before we go to bed. We can sit with our angels before the throne of God and say, hey, angels, take this up to God. I'm really sorry. I was really just ignorant and stupid, and I know that's not what God would have me do. However, there are some situations, and I'm going to be telling you about that eventually, Sue and Sean, that it is going to be important for us to stand up, and it is going to be important for us to set aside what we're working on for habitual sin and help others in some situations. But this, for the purpose of our lesson today, this is how we are going to work toward practicing that moderation and knowing when to speak and act. And yes, and I want to go over that. We are to counsel the ignorant. However, we don't beat them over the head and call them ignorant. We don't look at them and treat them as stupid as they're acting, even though they are stupid. And it is admonish the sinner. Yes. And exactly, not in anger and not in impatience, not with a conciliatory tone that they are the stupidest thing you've had to look at this day. We're not supposed to be a cartoon character that we'd laugh at. That is not what we're called to do. If we are to admonish the sinner, exactly, we have to improve by degrees. And if we're to admonish people, if we're to remind people of their sin, this is what I love about being Franciscan. We're supposed to set an example. No comment from you, Matt. We're supposed to set the example for others to follow. How do we do that? How do we lead by example? We've got to follow Christ. We've got to follow the example of Christ. But please don't say it because, I just know it. Somebody's going to say, well, why don't we walk in the temple with whips? I'd love to. But you know what? This is discernment. And we're not all of us are called to enter the temple with whips. Not all of us are called to flip tables and upset people. We pray for that discernment. And so in order for us to admonish the sinner, in order for us to instruct the ignorant, we need to know how, and then we have to pray for when. Because it's not going to be in impatience. So we have to get on with what we're going to pray about. Yes, salt and light. And a lot of times, and as you say, salt and light, people cannot feel the peace of our light if we're pouring salt in their wounds. Our joy, our absolute happiness, our absolute bliss at being alive and having a second chance to figure out life again today, our salt is supposed to be the seasoning for their curiosity to want to be just like us. But our light has to be strong enough for us to shut down those harsh, critical, nasty parts of us so that we can be something they may want to have. You know what I mean? Not easy. So, yeah, this is a slow progress for all of us, and I know this is a very simple example, but it's one that we can all identify with, and it's a very, very low-level invitation for us to be nasty or for us to be, not the loving, kind, instructive Christ that we're called to be for those of us that are baptized. And if you haven't been baptized and if you want to know more about why we baptize, hey, leave me a comment below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you got something for it. If you'd like to support this program, which goodness knows, every single one of you that support this program, either through Patreon, through donations, through sharing it, leaving comments, thank you. God bless you. Keep it up, please, so I can stay here. And we'll get on with it. Practical application notes for journal and journal. Thank you. Prayers always, Sean. I always appreciate prayers. It's good to keep a journal because we cannot. Hey, Jennifer, you made it. Live shows. I love it. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You made it for the fun stuff. Journals help us remember where we've been, and then we can go, oh my gosh, I'm not there anymore. Thank you, Jesus. And they remind us what we're working on today, and it reminds us where we need to go. And if I haven't spoken to you lately about this, it is important, if you have an opportunity, to find your pastor, your priest, someone that you can connect with, that you look up to in a much more reverent place than you are, and ask them, would you consider being my spiritual director? You're going to need a specific point of reference of where you want to go, where you need direction in. Because if you don't know, your spiritual director is not going to know. Onward. When we look at chapter 21 and we look at the occasion of habitual sin and how it's not created by accident, and as I was talking about, we want to look about what environments shape our influences to sin. I mean, do we have inclinations to five-finger discounts at work? Do we have inclinations to, maybe lewd pictures or pornography? What triggers do we have? What are our invitations? What situations do we actually put ourselves in that basically strip our inhibitions? Because this is what I was looking at is, what triggers do we have that lead us to indulge? Oh, look at my spelling's atrocious tonight. Just whatever. Sorry about that, guys. I really messed up, but I was in a rush because I was doing a lot of stuff. So if we are looking at the triggers, okay, because I talk about triggers a lot because I know, Sue, I'm so glad to finally see you. I haven't seen you in forever. When we look at those triggers that pull us in to habitual sin, that pull us into, and what is sin? Okay, people think, oh my God, sin is murdering somebody. Sin is being a fornicator, fornicating with 20 people. Sin is anything that we do that leads us away from God and into something dark and does not allow the light of Christ in. All right? The catechism, has a lot to say on that, and this is not a catechism lesson, okay? However, I will tell you that most of you think that you're committing such horrible mortal sins, and the remnant of sin is probably venial and maybe at best a level of consciousness that is, gnawing at you due to your upbringing. And it just, we have to understand that God does not judge us as harshly as we do. As a matter of fact, if we think we've sinned, he's probably already forgiven us. He's already forgotten about that. And he's already telling your angel, okay, check this out. Go angel here, go angel there. And sending somebody an angel here to help offset the next temptation you're going to have, okay? Let's not beat ourselves up, all right? And as in today's situation, yes, too many beverages. Okay, we're talking about habitual sin, and we're talking about the triggers. What sort of triggers do we have? What sort of things take us into Alice's rabbit hat? What will make us jump in there and go, I just can't deal with it? What makes us open a quart of ice cream and eat the whole bloody quart? We only need a cup. Now, that's not a sin. But that overindulgence is basically opening a door to say, you know what, I really don't care about myself. And I don't care about, the health of this body, which is a temple of God. So, I think I'll just go ahead and overindulge. Now, does God think that's a sin? Probably not. However, that lack of moderation can lead to another lack of moderation and another lack of moderation. And why do I say that, overeating stuff like that and overindulging, people are talking in the chat room about a beverage, okay? I'm bad. Okay, because I'm Irish. I like my whiskey. I like a little wine. I like my bourbon. And, a couple cocktails is fine. But when you are triggered by a mood and things are going wonderful and you're like, okay, well, it's been 5 hours. I've only had 3 or maybe 4, and you want another one and another one. Is that really necessary? Is that habitual sin? No. However, it could lead to me punching somebody before I leave the bar. It could lead to me picking a fight in the women's restroom. Is that healthy for me or them? No. Now, I'm not talking about me today. I'm talking about me a long time ago, okay? Long time ago. But this is what I'm saying is these are the things that we indulge in too much that can make us angry and can make us hostile. And we need to look at how our emotions trigger us. And I think that's what it was today for me in the situation in the store is that when I get around people that I hear, I don't mind squabbling. I don't mind bickering. I mean, I was raised around sailors. I can handle cussing. However, when I see someone attacking someone that is apparently helpless, that's a trigger for me. And this person opened their mouth to this young man that, I mean, he literally looked as innocent as driven snow. So my trigger as a mother, as a defender, was say something, but I didn't. Do something. I didn't. Then the manager finally got up there, and I was like on that manager like white on rice. It's like that manager was over there. You heard what was going on. You need to handle this now before somebody else does. Is it any of my business? No. But that was my trigger. All right, so my point to you is when we take God's hands off a situation, put our hands on it, it's not usually good. There are certain times that we must step in. There are certain times that we must apply ourselves. But we also need to pray for discernment when to do that. Because there will come times, and I guarantee you they're about on us, that we are going to make discerning choices how to take control of a certain situation, and you're going to need to take care of yourself and whoever you love and get out of situations. For habitual sin, however, if we are going to maintain our peace, we're going to understand ourselves. We're going to pray about our inclinations, about the passions and the love or the hatreds or the angers, those things that upset us so much that they suck us right back into emotion. And it's like, let's just go indulge, because indulging in this impropriety or this sin, it's familiar. And I can hate myself, and tomorrow's another day. Let's not do that to ourselves, okay? For meditation on Psalms 13, yes, definitely hubris. For meditation on Psalms 13, this is really beautiful. This is the psalm. This is the cry to God. Lord, how long will you forget me? How long will you forget me? How long will you leave me in this misery? And this is what, in St. Bernard of Clairvaux's view, he was looking at. He was looking at the opportunity to step into habitual sin comes from a level of forgetfulness that the sinner feels forgotten by God. And I have known so many people in so many cases where this is exactly where they are. They feel forgotten. They feel left behind. They feel that no matter what they do, what they say, no matter sin, they truly believe that there is nothing they can do. No sin, no joy. There's nothing that they can do that's actually going to help them feel any better, to, shall we say, level them out to where they feel like they are moving forward. They truly feel they've been forgotten. Okay, and this is when we think about habitual sin, like drug use, frequent sexual partners, whatever have you, those things that we do that destroy our souls. People indulge in those things because they lose hope. They lose faith in themselves. Affairs by married people are carried on this way because they feel hopeless. They feel lost. They feel like, you know what? God's not going to help me. He's not there for me anymore. And I think that hopefully, you followed this course this far, that, thank you, thank you, thank you. You follow this course this far that there is some hope for every single one of us. There's a love so great, so divine, so beautiful that it's ours. It's already ours. All we got to do is say thank you for it. That's what this show, this channel, everything about Swords of St. Michael wants you to remember that you're valued and you are loved and you're incredible. And thank you, Miss Jennifer. I have come a long way, but I still have that slippery slope I got to stay right off of. And yes, Matt, thank you very much to the moderators. I really, really, really appreciate the moderators' help, and I appreciate you all for coming. And I can't thank you enough for all the support. Never forget that Swords of St. Michael is here to help you with your exorcism, deliverance, and any questions or problems you may have. And if you need anything, you can always pop your questions down below if I've missed your questions. And yeah, I have to admit with Anne is that sometimes we think that God's love is too good to be true. And recently in my life, just happened something. It was like, wow, it was like so too good to be true that, it took me by complete surprise. And when those things happen, in your core that you've never lost your faith. You're still there on your path. You're not perfect. None of us are going to get perfect here. None of us. The way of perfection is to continue to try. Even if you screw up all day today, all day yesterday. But you know what? We got this minute right now. You can say, you know what? Oh, thank you so much, Sue. God bless you too. We can say, I'm sorry, God. Guardian angel, give me the strength to try to love God better this minute. That's all we need to do. That's what you're going to be judged on. The intention of your heart, the love in your heart, the desire in your heart to serve this minute. Okay. So you guys don't have any questions, and I've already blathered long enough. Thank you, guys. God bless you. Have a wonderful Sunday. Never forget, Sword of St. Michael is here to help you win the fight and win it right. Go see lots of videos. Give this a like. And next weekend, oh my gosh, it's such a long one. Next weekend, I'm probably not going to do live, guys, because, oh my gosh, it is so long. It's like, you guys, next week, pack a picnic lunch. It's so long. So I will see you next Sunday, or maybe even Thursday. God bless you, and good night. Thank you all so much for coming. All of you. Thank you to all my moderators. Good night. God bless.